Hello, everyone, and welcome to Daily English Zone. My name is Marco, and today I want to talk about something that makes all of us laugh later, but feel terrible when it happens: an embarrassing situation. We've all had one, right? That moment when your face turns red, your heart beats faster, and you just want to disappear. But you know what? These moments teach us how to laugh, how to stay calm, and how to communicate better, even in English. Let me tell you one of my own stories. It happened a few years ago when I went to a fancy restaurant with some coworkers. I wanted to make a good impression, so I acted very professional, polite smile, good posture, perfect manners. When the waiter came, I proudly ordered, "I'd like a bowel of soup, please." Everyone went silent. The waiter looked confused. Then one of my friends whispered, "Marco, it's bowl, not bowel." I had no idea that the word bowel actually means part of the human stomach system. I was so embarrassed that I could feel my ears turning red. But then I laughed and said, "Well, I guess that's one way to get attention." Everyone laughed, and the awkward moment disappeared. That experience taught me two things. First, English pronunciation can be tricky. Just one small sound can completely change the meaning. And second, humor can fix almost any situation. If you make a mistake, don't panic. Just smile, correct yourself, and keep talking. Here are a few useful phrases you can use if something embarrassing happens. "Oops, that came out wrong. I didn't mean to say that. Sorry, pronunciation mistake." These phrases sound natural and polite, and they show confidence, not fear. So remember, the next time you make a funny mistake in English, don't hide it, own it. Laugh about it, learn from it, and keep speaking. That's how you grow, not just in language, but in life too. Have you ever walked into the wrong place by mistake? That can be one of the most embarrassing things ever. It happened to me once at the gym. I had just joined, and I wanted to look confident, like I belonged there. I saw a big group going into a room, so I followed them, thinking it was a workout class. The instructor smiled and said, "Welcome everyone. Let's begin with breathing and gentle stretching." I thought, maybe it's a warm-up session. But after 5 minutes, I realized something was wrong. Everyone was sitting in silence with their eyes closed. I had accidentally walked into a yoga meditation class. The worst part? My phone started ringing loudly in my bag with a funny ringtone. "I'm too sexy for my shirt." The room went completely quiet. I turned bright red, grabbed my bag, and whispered, "Sorry, wrong class." Everyone laughed softly, and I ran out as fast as I could. Later, I couldn't stop laughing about it. It was embarrassing, yes, but also a great reminder that we all make mistakes, and they make the best stories. In English, when you find yourself in such a situation, here are a few polite phrases you can use. "Oh, I think I'm in the wrong place. Sorry for interrupting. My mistake." These expressions sound natural and show that you're polite and calm. Most people will just smile and move on because everyone has been there. Embarrassing moments like these teach us humility and humor. They show that it's okay not to be perfect. What matters is how we handle it. So next time you walk into the wrong room, just smile and say, "Well, at least I tried something new today." Sometimes, embarrassing moments happen because of simple English mistakes. One day, I was traveling abroad and wanted to compliment a woman on her new haircut. I wanted to say, "Your hair looks nice today," but I was a bit nervous, and instead, I said, "Your hair looks noise today." She looked confused for a second and then burst out laughing. I didn't understand why until I realized that noise means sound, not beautiful. I felt embarrassed at first, but then I laughed too. I said, "Oops, I meant to say nice, not noise. Sorry, my English needs a haircut too." She laughed again, and the tension disappeared completely. That day, I learned something important. People don't mind your mistakes if you speak with kindness and a little humor. You see, pronunciation can change the whole meaning of a word. For example, ship and sheep, beach and bitch, peace and peace. Just one small sound can make a big difference. If you make a pronunciation mistake and it sounds funny, don't panic. You can say things like, "Did I just say that wrong? Sorry, I meant this word." No, that came out funny. These phrases are great for recovering naturally when you say something embarrassing. They make your English sound real, not robotic. So remember, learning a language is not just about words, it's about courage. Every time you make a small mistake and keep going, you become stronger, braver, and more confident. Embarrassment doesn't last forever, but the lesson you learn from it does. One of my most unforgettable, embarrassing moments happened at an airport. I was standing in line for the security check, feeling a little sleepy after a long night. The officer looked at me and said politely, "Can I see your passport, please?" I smiled, nodded, and without thinking, handed him my phone instead. He looked at it, then looked at me and said, "Well, unless your phone has your photo and nationality inside, I'm afraid this won't work." People behind me started laughing, and I couldn't help but laugh too. I said, "Sorry, I guess my brain is still in airplane mode." The officer chuckled and said, "No problem, sir. Happens all the time." That small moment taught me something big. Being polite and humorous can turn even the most embarrassing situation into a friendly one. It's not about being perfect. It's about how you react when things go wrong. When something embarrassing happens in English, remember these natural phrases. "Sorry about that." "My mistake." "That was silly of me." That's embarrassing." These expressions are polite and show that you can admit your mistake without losing confidence. People appreciate honesty and kindness much more than perfection. In fact, native English speakers often laugh at themselves too. You'll hear them say things like, "I'm so clumsy today," or "Wow, that was awkward." It's completely normal. Embarrassing moments are not signs of weakness. They're signs that you're living, trying, and learning. So the next time you do something silly, just smile and move forward. Life becomes much easier when you learn to laugh at yourself. Sometimes embarrassing situations come when we try to be too confident. I remember one morning at a coffee shop. The place was full, and I wanted to sound like a fluent English speaker. The barista asked, "What would you like today?" I smiled and said proudly, "A large cup of confident, please." Everyone around me turned to look. The barista laughed and said, "Oh, we're out of confident today, but we have coffee." I realized I had mixed up the words coffee and confident. My face turned red, but I started laughing and said, "That's okay. Maybe coffee will help me get some confidence." Everyone in line laughed too, and the awkward moment became something funny. You see, sometimes our small mistakes make other people smile. And that's not a bad thing. It actually makes communication more human and friendly. Here's something useful for English learners. When you make a word mistake, don't panic. You can easily fix it with phrases like, "Sorry, wrong word." "I meant to say," "That's not what I meant." These are polite, simple, and very common expressions that native speakers use too. Remember, the goal of communication is not perfection, it's connection. Embarrassing moments show that you're brave enough to speak even when it's not perfect. Every time you make a funny mistake, your brain learns faster and your confidence grows stronger. So next time you say something wrong, just smile and keep going. Who knows? That little mistake might become your best story to tell one day. One of the funniest and most embarrassing moments in my life happened during a wedding ceremony. I was asked to make a short toast. Just a few words to congratulate the couple. I felt confident because I had prepared a beautiful little speech in English. When I stood up and raised my glass,
Everyone went quiet. I smiled and said, "Let's all raise our glasses for the bride and the broom." The whole room exploded with laughter. The bride was laughing, the groom was laughing, even the photographer couldn't stop. That's when I realized my mistake. I had said broom instead of groom. I meant to celebrate the new husband, not a cleaning tool. I laughed too and said, "Well, I guess every marriage needs a broom to keep things clean." Everyone clapped and cheered, and it became one of the most memorable moments of the night. That experience taught me something very important. Confidence doesn't mean never making mistakes. It means staying calm and kind when you do. People don't remember your small errors, they remember your attitude. When you make an embarrassing mistake in English, try saying something light and friendly like, "Oops, that came out wrong. I meant the other word." Or, "Well, that was a creative version." These small phrases show that you're not afraid of mistakes, and that's what makes your English sound natural. Embarrassing situations are like surprise teachers. They help us remember words, pronunciation, and confidence better than any textbook ever could. Every oops moment is actually a lesson in disguise. So the next time you say something wrong, just smile and keep going. Who knows? That little mistake might become your best story to tell one day.
Have you ever sent a message to the wrong person? That's one of the most embarrassing things that can happen in today's world. It happened to me once, and I'll never forget it. I was texting a friend to complain a little about my boss. Nothing too serious, just a small joke. I wrote, "He talks so much, I think his mouth never sleeps," and hit send. A few seconds later, I realized I had sent it to my boss himself. My heart stopped. I felt cold and dizzy. I wish there was a take back button for real life. But then a message popped up from him. "Ha ha, that's funny, Marco. You're not wrong." I couldn't believe it. He took it as a joke. The next day, he smiled at me and said, "Don't worry, Marco. We all need to laugh sometimes." That moment taught me a big lesson. Be careful who you're talking to, but also remember that honesty and humor can save the day. In English, when something like this happens, you can use polite recovery phrases like, "Oh no, wrong person. Sorry about that. That message wasn't meant for you. Please ignore that. My fingers betrayed me." These are natural ways to fix a texting mistake and show politeness. Embarrassing situations like this remind us that everyone makes mistakes, even in the digital world. The key is to stay calm, apologize if needed, and laugh it off. People usually appreciate honesty more than perfection. So, if you ever text the wrong person, don't panic, say sorry, smile, and maybe laugh a little. After all, every embarrassing message becomes a funny memory later. Sometimes, embarrassing moments happen when we try to be helpful. I remember once I was in a supermarket. An old lady was reaching for a box on a high shelf, and I wanted to help. I said confidently, "Let me grab it for you, Grandma." She looked at me with a big frown and said, "I'm not your grandma." People around started laughing, and I felt my face turning red like a tomato. I quickly said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I just meant it in a friendly way." She smiled after a few seconds and said, "That's okay, young man. Thank you for helping anyway." We both laughed, and the situation became light again. That moment taught me an important lesson. Sometimes even good intentions can sound wrong if you choose the wrong word. In English, using words like dear, sweetie, or grandma with strangers can sound too personal or even impolite. Instead, you can say things like, "Excuse me, ma'am, may I help you? Would you like some help? Let me get that for you." These sound polite, natural, and respectful. It's all about tone and choice of words. Embarrassing moments like this help us understand not just language, but culture too. Every culture has its own way of showing respect and friendliness. When you learn how to speak politely, you don't just learn English, you learn connection.
So, if you ever say something that sounds wrong or too personal, don't worry. Just smile, say sorry, and fix it kindly. People respect honesty and good manners more than perfect grammar. Embarrassing moments. We've all had them, and they always seem terrible when they happen. But later, they become the stories we tell with a big smile. One day, you'll look back and realize that every awkward, funny, or uncomfortable situation helped you grow, not just in English, but in life. I remember one last story that sums this up perfectly. I was giving an English lesson to a new class. I wanted to say, "Let's begin our first lesson," but I accidentally said, "Let's begin our first lesson in prison." The students went completely silent and then burst out laughing. I laughed too and said, "Don't worry, my classroom's not that bad." From that moment, the class felt relaxed and comfortable. That little mistake made everyone smile. You see, language isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. Every mistake, every slip, every little oops moment makes you sound more human, more confident, and more natural. The key is to keep speaking, keep learning, and never let embarrassment stop you. Here's something I've learned from all these funny situations. When you fall, laugh and stand up again. When you say something wrong, correct it kindly. When you feel embarrassed, smile and move forward. Because the truth is, confidence grows from mistakes, not from perfection. So, the next time you find yourself in an embarrassing situation, whether it's in class, at work, or in public, remember that one day you'll laugh about it. You'll see it as a lesson, not a failure. Thank you so much for listening to Daily English Zone. I hope today's stories made you smile and gave you confidence to keep speaking English even when it's not perfect. Please like, share, and comment below your funniest or most embarrassing English story. Let's learn, laugh, and grow together, one oops at a time.